So I'm still having some camera issues, and I really want to give something high quality. I want to create something that sounds good and is going to look good. So at least we're going to have the sound part to this because my camera won't export from the SIM card. Something it won't, it's corrupted. I don't know. Anyway, that's not the point of this. This is a review on the movie Risen, the newest faith-based drama starring Joseph Fiennes and Tom Felton and Peter Firth and Cliff Curtis as Jesus. Something you need to know about me right now is that 95% of the time I will go ahead and tell you I hate faith-based movies. I hate them. I think they are directed poorly, they're written poorly, they are acted poorly. Everything in a faith-based movie typically, and that's what the 95% is, typically sucks. Now, a recent exception to that is Heaven is for Real. I thought that was actually, it was alright. It wasn't great, but it was definitely the best faith-based movie that I've seen in a while. And Risen is similar to Heaven is for Real in that it's a different way of looking at Christianity. This one takes place back in biblical times and stars Joseph Fiennes as Clavius, who is a tribune. He basically is one of the right-hand men to Pontius Pilate, I think was his name. And he is in charge of going to look for Jesus' body after he had been crucified, killed, and is put in a tomb, but his body disappears. And so it's sort of a mystery thriller in a way. Now, IMDb lists it as an action-adventure drama. It's definitely a drama. Action-adventure, I don't know about that per se, because the only action and adventure in it is the first 3 minutes. There is a somewhat terrible battle scene. It's really, really bad, let me tell you. You could tell that people were just grabbing the spears when they're getting stabbed, so in that instance, not very good. I should say that this movie was directed by the guy who directed Waterworld, 1995's disaster classic, bombed at the box office, starring Kevin Costner. What's his name? Kevin Reynolds. Kevin Reynolds is the director. So the movie itself is acted very, very well. I think Joseph Fiennes gives a nice reserved performance as someone who is skeptical of this claim that Jesus is, who he says he is, and is the Son of God. He's skeptical at the fact that he is risen. That's why the movie is called Risen, because it's all about him trying to find his body. Cliff Curtis, who is actually from New Zealand, is a Maori actor. It was nice seeing him as Jesus, because usually we get, white guys as Jesus. And most of the movie is still a bunch of white guys, even though it takes place in the Middle East. But he is an actor of some color, so it was nice seeing someone that wasn't white for once. Now, he's not Middle Eastern, he's not Arabic, like I said. He is Maori from New Zealand, but he definitely looked like he could be Jesus. He sounded like he could be Jesus. And overall, that's what you're looking for in a Jesus, right? Is someone that can portray that sort of highness to them, even though they're very humble. And like I said, this is a very well-acted movie. I don't think there was a weak performance necessarily, but what is weak is the direction, I guess you could say, because this movie is very slow-paced. Now, slow-paced movies aren't bad. Like Boyhood, 2014's Boyhood, I would say is a pretty slow-paced movie. It is a slow burner because it's all about the characters and you're just watching them live. That's the whole point of the movie. This movie kind of follows that in that it's really, really slow and there isn't much happening. It's pretty much Clavius just talking to people, and it's boring. That's the big issue. This movie is very, very boring. I found myself in the theater several times, not dozing off, but just not paying attention because of the dialogue and the direction and the design. The design is very bland. Now, I know it's being old, old-timey Rome and like the Jerusalem and all that Bethlehem kind of days. So they didn't have a lot of color, but the color palette in this is pretty much gray, brown, black, muted, drab colors. It's not fun to watch. Not at all. It's super boring, and most likely you will find yourself getting sort of antsy. You're wanting stuff to happen. This could have been a good noir movie in a way. Like I said, it is sort of a mystery thriller, but it plays it straight like a drama. He's not a detective, he's just doing his job. That's just how I feel about it. It should have probably been more stylized as a noir movie, but it has really drab colors and drab writing and direction. It's not exciting, it's not pleasing to the eye, and it's not pleasing to the ears because you just kind of dread waiting till the end. Now, the last act is actually a lot different than this because this isn't really a spoiler. Obviously, we know the story of Jesus coming back to life. They find out, oh, Jesus has risen, and he goes and finds Jesus. And then the last 20, 30 minutes is actually him and the disciples going to find Jesus at Galilee. And then being chased by Tom Felton and Peter Firth and all of them. They're being chased by all these soldiers. And it's a lot of character development for Joseph Fiennes' character, who, like I said, was skeptical at the beginning about Jesus and all that, and now has sort of come to believe that this man has actually risen from the dead somehow. And it's really nice to see the shift in his character there. It's definitely more interesting than the rest of the movie with him interviewing people. But like I said, most of this movie is pretty boring. So I'm not saying skip it if you're definitely interested in it. It's probably what you're looking for. I wasn't necessarily interested in it going in. I would give Risen a 5.5 out of 10 just because it is well acted. The ending is interesting, but most of the movie finds itself plodding along. So, what did you think of Risen? What do you think of this audio style of podcast? I think it has better audio because of my mic and everything that I'm using. So hopefully you enjoyed this more than I enjoyed Risen. Talk to us. Start a conversation about what you thought about the movie. Find us on Twitter, wherever you want to talk. We're always here discussing movies. That's what we do. So I'm Samuel. Treat yourself right and see a movie.